garage, top levels of excitement are ensuing. We have got the 2022 Ducati Panigale V4 in front of us, the lovely little thing that it is. And today I am going to do the most exciting thing you can ever talk about in a bike. It is the basics of setup. It's not even the basics of setup, it's just how to record the information from your bike. This is pretty much the most important thing you can do on your bike. I know you get people who go, I just got on any bike and ride it, but you know, you equally get people that buy a very popular bike, get on it, ride it, hate it, decide to sell it because they don't like the way it rides, or they put some different tyres on, hate it, you know, can't make the bike work for them. So I'm just going to show you how to do the basics. It's all basic stuff, it's all in the manual, it's all there. There's loads of information on this out on the internet anyway, so it's just if this will be helpful to somebody, you know, cool. In the past, I have thought about selling bikes because I didn't like the way they handled. My V4R is a great example. If you've watched my channel, if you've followed that bike, I've had that bike up for sale because I hate the way it handled. And one of the times I had it up for sale, someone came to look at it, and I was just thinking to myself, I used to like this bike. Like when I got it, I liked it. So why don't I like it now? And then, you know, I racked my brains, and I'm going to show you later even more excitement, a data sheet, and why they're so important. So I went back through my data sheets, and I was like, do you know what? I used to enjoy that bike, used to love it, and then I made this one change to the swing arm pivot, never liked it since, and nearly sold it. So then I could go back, put that change back, and go down that road. So it's really, really cool. And even one time I didn't, not one time, loads of time I don't do it, you know, I'm only human, and it's basically admin, isn't it, doing your settings on your bike. It's not very exciting. So I don't always do it, I try and always do it now, but I still don't. If I'm just feeling like, fuck it, I'm not interested, I won't bother. And then I always regret it afterwards, because I'm like, oh, I found something really good there, why didn't I record that information? But years ago, I went to see a sports psychologist. I sat down with him, said, you know, I'm riding bikes, and my results were just all over the place. Like, I'd do 2 rounds, hate it, not go very fast, and the next round set a PB, and that was like sort of the pattern for my year, like confident on the bike, then no confidence, confident, no confidence. And this sports psychologist knew nothing about motorcycles or racing, and so he just chatted about it, and basically he broke it down, and he went back through the past times I've ridden the bike until, and I was adamant, by the way, that the setup was perfect on this bike, and I'd ridden it in Jerez, and I was trying a new tyre in Jerez, and the tyre height was different to what I normally ran, so I adjusted the ride height accordingly, I thought, and I hadn't done it, and I hadn't put it back when I put the other tyre on. So then the base of the bike didn't feel confident. It was vague on the front end, and it moved a bit. And it was actually a sports psychologist that worked that out for me without looking at a data sheet. But even if you record all your data and you start making changes, you get lost, you can then go back. And also, when you get a bike, you know, I always think it's a good idea to try a bike as it comes. But you might want to record the settings on the bike and then put it back to stock. And equally, when I have got lost on a bike because I've gone down a rabbit hole of setup, going back to stock is always a great reset option. So you know, you can find stock settings on the internet usually, and you can get back there, and then you can maybe start trying to go down the creek. So anyway, I'm just going to show you today how the settings work, how to record them, all that great stuff. I might be able to try and get a data sheet into my video editor so I can put it up so it looks nice, so I can then show the fields, but that sounds very complicated, so I might just use a video of the screen which I've got set up over there. And I'm not going to show you absolutely everything. Probably, I'm not going to drop the forks completely to measure the air gap. Mainly because it's a two-man job. I'll explain it very quickly. Basically, loosen both fork caps off, the bike will drop down because you haven't got the fork tops screwed in anymore. Take the fork top off, push the damper rod all the way down, so take the spring out, push the damper rod all the way down, and then that's when you measure your air gap, and the bike is sitting on the deck basically, and the forks are jammed up the front. There you go. So what I'm going to do, obviously you've only got, well, there's three things you need to measure at least. The front suspension, so the front suspension, the rear suspension, your electronic setup. And then you can also record data like your handlebar position, which I've got a tool for doing that, which I have shown in previous videos. I'll get it out there so you can see that. And obviously you can record your foot peg settings, although obviously for me, I'm lucky I got two bikes, so you know, if I smash one up, I just look at the other one because I've copied one set of settings to the other from one bike to another. So with the fork, the first thing you need to do, or one of the first things you need to do, or one thing you need to measure, it doesn't matter what order you do it in, I guess, is you want to know how much fork extension you've got. The problem with this measurement, which is what everybody does, and I did, and I still do, is the cartridge kit you have in your forks can make a difference to the ride height of the bike. To give you an example, with this Maxton cartridge kit in this fork, it gives you 5mm more travel than the stock Öhlins. So if you had, say that, and equally here's another example, the V4R, the fork is actually a different length to the V4S and V4 base. So if you just took the reading from the top of the fork here, and your fork lengths are different, then your bike's going to sit at a different height. Let's say you've spoken to somebody on the internet and they go, oh, you want to have the forks flush, but if they've got a different fork kit to you, it's potentially going to be different. So the measurement I take is from the spindle to the bottom yoke. What we're going to do, for me, I don't know if you can see up here because it's dark, but I put the end of my measuring tape up to the bottom yoke so it touches it. And then I'm going to come down here and I measure to the spindle. So in this example, we're 420 millimeters or 40.2 centimeters. And then what I would do, come here, here's my laptop, here's something I did set up earlier, and I've got it here, yoke to axle, 390 is what I had previously, but what have we made any changes? Springs are different now, so the bike will sit at a different height, but I haven't then put that new measurement in there. So that's an interesting difference that, and you can directly see I've gone from 11.25 to 11.5, and that has lifted the front of the bike statically by 3 centimeters. There you go, very exciting. So next thing we're going to do will be the preload, and my little screen says it's 10. Let's hope it is. Although, again, another thing this is good for is verifying that your settings haven't changed. So a lot of people use a speed brace for this. With a ratchet, which I'm going to use now, I do have a speed brace, but I'm going to use a ratchet now, you can lose where you're at because obviously the ratchet can spin. Preload, you want to wind all the way off. Okay, so that's your 0 on preload. So we're going to go 1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10. It stopped. I'm quite happy with that for myself. So that's 10 turns, right? Don't forget to put it back on. I've done that. You go out, your bike feels weird, doesn't handle nicely. I haven't put the setting back. So we're going to go 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
10. Now the reason I put that mark on the socket at the beginning is because when you're doing this you might accidentally do that. I don't know if you saw that. You might accidentally push this back if you're using a ratchet. And then you lose where your measurement is, but then I can look down and I go, oh, my mark's still there, so that's good. And then just to verify,
I'm going to put that mark facing me actually. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
10. That's just under 10, isn't it? So we'll start from there this time. Okay, so we're going to put it back on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
10. Cool. So put that tool away
So
now. We've correlated that the preload is 10. Springs, again, I'm on my own, so I'm not going to do it, although you can do it on this bike. And it depends on the cartridge kit you have anyway, how you change the springs. But when you take a spring out, look at the top of it, it will tell you what the rating of that spring is. So then we've got compression now, and we've got rebound. So compression is 20, rebound's 11. Again, it depends on your forks. On my forks, on most race forks, these are rebound and compression, and it will say, I don't know if you can see that, that says comp, and that says REB, rebound. You'll find some forks might have comp on both forks at the top, and at the bottom they have rebound. On the showers, they have comp and rebound on each fork leg, and they have the preload on the bottom. The showers are excellent forks, by the way. Just to show you as an example, rebound on that side, comp on this side, and then that nut is the preload adjuster on the O-rings. So the difference with damping is you go all the way in and you count out. So this is rebound, we're expecting to have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and that's the stop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Some people count the first click as 0. I count it as 1. Up to you. So go comp. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
and I'm going to put that as 19 in here. Probably when I change those springs, I maybe adjusted that. I wouldn't normally adjust one click at a time on a damper. You really don't feel it. I personally go about 3 or 4 clicks at a time when you're looking for adjustment. I did find on the showers, I know I harp on about them, but they are such good forks, the stock forks. I was getting a bit of chatter, and I just took, but I knew I was in the place where I wanted to be. I just wanted to really fine tune it. I did 1 click, couldn't feel it, but I did lose the chatter. So that was that. So that's your damping on the front. You've done your preload, we've done the ride height. Let's have a quick look else, what else we can do. Air gap I've talked about, preload done, fork extension. So I've got a note of it there, but as you can see, the actual ride height of the bike has changed because we changed the spring. So some of you might take that as a sag reading or something like that. These are the readings I take. That's the forks. We are now going to look at the shock. Okay, so ride height. I know again, some people use sag, but it doesn't really, that just shows you this shows you sag, right? How much the bike sags by when you put it on the ground. So what we're actually going to look at is ride height. And so what we want to do, this is composed of 2 main items, I guess. Shock length, and then the ride height. We take a measurement from here to a fixed point on the bike. If you are lucky and you can get hold of one, a ride height tool is excellent, because you know, the reality is you might crash your bike, and often the rear tail unit gets a bit twisted, or you know, you might buy a second-hand bike and that might be a bit twisted. So a ride height tool normally clips onto the bike somewhere over here, and then it leaves you a straight line to measure from. And then I've also got a tool I put in here, and I measure from the centre of this axle to that ride height tool. But it's irrelevant, because what we want to do is just something you can use on your bike. So on this bike, as an example, there's a bolt here, and what I can put the tape into the head of that bolt, and then I can bring it down to the axle. And it's a little bit tricky because it's not made for this. And the problem with this as well, obviously, you've got sort of a bit of a play where you go with that tape. But for this example, we'll go there, and then you'd go, was that 565 millimeters would be the rear ride height on the bike. It's quite straightforward, that. And then we're going to check so we come over to our screen, we go ride height. I've got 277 because that's on my ride height tool, but we had 565, so you write 565 there. Again, it's different on every shock, a bit like the cartridge kits. So on mine, this is the compression damping. You've got low speed and high speed, and the rebound, you can't even see it. You can get your hand on it, you can feel it. Some shocks have it on the bottom. Sometimes you'll find rebound and compression up the top. Exactly the same as before. I'm going to, even though it's got these wheels, I'm going to use an Allen key. So this is low, we're going to go in. Two. Adjust the center forks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes these wheels are hard to move or hot. That one is harder.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17.
Okay, quick change of tool. 1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
18. Nice and easy. So, obviously, another measurement you need to take is your wheelbase, which will always be from your centre of your swing arm pivot to the centre of your rear axle. Again, the tool I use for the ride height gives me the centre, so I can measure from there. Although obviously you can just calculate the diameter, half it, you know, and just measure to the edge of the axle. But my tool goes in the centre, and you can do the same here. I've got a little tool that clips in. It's actually super easy taking the shock out on this bike. So I have got the 8 Allen key in the bottom there. Everybody likes it. There's a nut, and then there's a bolt. And when you have bike high enough, lo and behold, the shock comes out easy. Now, this is straightforward. I bought a vernier caliper, and it's very simple. You can go centre to centre from eye to eye, and this gives me a reading of 308. And that's the reading I've got on there, 308. So that's how you measure your shock. saw that, just eye to eye. So you could put 2 bolts in and put a mark in each bolt and then measure there, but I found in the past I get quite a lot of variance doing that. So this wasn't expensive, and then you can see where I've been playing around it, bolted bolts into it. Okay. So that is 141 millimeters, or 140.9. So to check the preload on your spring, to do it properly, you need to take the spring out and measure the spring. So that's what we're going to do. This is my spring compressor tool. It works on a variety of different size shocks. It's got these adapter rings. Obviously you can get the foot pump ones, are probably the best ones to go for, but they're also the most expensive. And that tie, it's amazing, isn't it? That little C-clip basically stops your suspension from collapsing. Okay, we get here, get the pressure off this, take that bolt out. Here's our spring. Yeah, I think that is a... It's lucky, isn't it? I'd say that's lucky because it's a 150 millimeter caliper and we're at 152.56 spring length. So we had 11 point something millimeters. What did we think we had preload? 13. So 11.6. Cool. So now we've done that, put it back together, put it back in the bike.